Hello again, welcome back. Now I'm going to look at two films, one a recent release and one that's been out for about 10 years. So it's Asteroid City and Elysium. So Asteroid City is a new Wes Anderson film, and Elysium's a new Blomkamp film as his follow-up to his big first success. It's District 9. So it's one of the reason I'm putting both these films together is I saw them pretty much close together. I'd seen Elysium before years ago, but hadn't seen it for a long time. And they and both films have the same problem in the sense of their interesting ideas, a good cast, and they don't come together. But they're still pleasurable. But it's that kind of frustration of there was something here, but you never figured out exactly what it was you were trying to do with this film. And that's the worst films in some ways because you can see they're almost there. You know, it's like you needed just a bit more time in the script to really figure out what you want to do before you went into the start shooting stuff because you'd everything else there. There's it's not a fault of anyone else but the directors and the writers because it's like everything was there. You had the cast, you had the crew to do everything you wanted, and the film still kind of was like, eh. And both films got those kind of reviews. So it's like, yeah, they're pretty good, but kind of not the best. So I'll start with Asteroid City, which is the more recent one. This Wes Anderson looking at the space race thing of the 60s of like the late 50s, early 60s. People are all patriotic and all excited about the stars, all excited about science and the planets, and it's a new sheen. But you've also got an older culture that isn't as interested. They're coming from like the cowboy culture and stuff. So you've got so it takes place in the middle of nowhere. So you have people from the older culture, you've got people from the new culture of science, you've got the army. And during a event where they're praising these young new scientists who come to Asteroid City, this dump basically with a science installation. During the presentation of awards, an alien arrives, takes something and disappears. And so as soon as that happens, everything's into lockdown. The whole town is in lockdown, so they're trapped in the town for a week as the government tries to figure out what's going on, what should they do, and it's with all these people interacting, and some romances form, and you hear about some tragedies and things like that, and it's a typical Wes Anderson structure, that I enjoy watching, I like some more than others. But this time, he actually, because it's the 50s, the other part of the 50s that made an impact beyond the space race was like the Americans been influenced by Brecht and by the theatre of the absurd and by the theatre of pointing out that this doesn't exist, that these are actors on the stage. So you cut back between. So it starts off in telling everybody this is a play, we're staging the play, and then the film goes out of its way to have scenes that would be very hard to stage on a stage as a joke. Like they do these long, so they build this thing, a stage, the whole town on a stage, which they can shoot. But they have like tracking shots that would last longer than the actual stage itself. You have all these locations spread out. It's like it would do a lot. It would be very hard to put this actually on stage. But you could probably do it, but it would be difficult. Which is kind of the joke, is like, how the hell would you do this on stage? So he's being ironic, and he's taking this idea of these are the actors, and you find out some of the actors are very different from the parts they're playing, and it's like pointing out the artifice of the emotions you're feeling during this time. And it's all very much stuff we've seen before, but without any real political point of view or an emotional point of view of why they're doing it, which is the problem of the film. It's like, why is this happening? Now, there's a great way to do it, which is 20th century, where 20th century was all about acting. Like you see the actor acting the part, and you see the director directing them in the part. So you see it's all artifice and what the actor's doing as artifice and how the actor interacts with the fellow actors and their director as artifice. And that's interesting because they look at human behavior. This one is trying to do that as like human behavior of like the actor and who they actually are and who they're actually playing and how they're manipulated into different emotions by these different scripts. Now that could be interesting, but the film doesn't deliver because the film's still delivering on the idea that it's a Wes Anderson film inside this like ironic postmodern film, and the other side connects. It's like you're watching this saying, "Oh, this guy who's playing our lead character, who's played by Jason Schwartzman, he's the actor playing him is much more of a, he's very inventive, but probably pretty shallow in different ways. He's into his parts, but you don't really get who he is. So the disconnect between him and this sort of sad person isn't really there. I mean, the hint that he's gay, they show you him kissing the playwright, but that could be manipulation, who knows? But you don't get specific things of character from these parts behind the scenes. That you see more about Scarlett Johansson's character, who's the female lead he falls in love with in the play. And you see her character, how she's more of a movie star and much more hard bitten and things. And again, it doesn't quite. The characters, there's not enough time spent with these other characters to define them so that there's an interesting tension between who they're playing and who they actually are. They're just jokes essentially, and it just becomes like, well, why am I seeing these scenes because they don't add up too much. There's a nice scene at the end. There's a nice scene with Adrian Brody as the director, but he's doing stuff he's done before with him and his wife's getting divorced and how manic he is. That's nice. There's a scene with Schwartzman at the end with Margot Robbie, who plays this actress who was in the play, and then the scene she was maybe was cut, but they play out the scene at the end of the film. But it's not actually in the play, and then you get flashbacks to Edward Norton as a playwright, how he's getting inspired for the play, and all these scenes are funny jokes, but they don't add anything to the play itself. Don't add anything to the story, and a disconnect from the story you're meant to be following an emotional attachment to. Because you're still getting interest in the play as it's been portrayed in the film, but cutting back means there's less of those scenes than you'd like of the actual play they're meant to be acting. So you wonder, why did this play that's meant to be a big success ever become a big success? Because you've only seen what feels like half of it. So it's just the film disconnects completely from each other. So scenes that are meant to have impact don't have less impact they should. A lot of the busy work of actually getting you from place to place to actually make sure those scenes have impact is diluted by cutting away, so you feel you're missing scenes you should be seeing, and there's lots of things that might have paid off they didn't have this ironic detachment. And there's this whole theme of like you see young love through the son of Schwartzman's character fall in love with the daughter of Johansson's character. Well, they fall in love with each other as well. So you have the young love and the old love, which could have been a good base for the film. If you just stuck with that, you'd have been fine. But instead, they do the ironic thing, and it just becomes like it's like it's not one, it's not the other. And again, there's the wonderful stuff about how people felt excited by science in the 50s, exploring that, having all these parents of these child scientists who are geniuses and how they're bickering and things. All that could be expanded into something more interesting. Instead, it just becomes one-note jokes all the time. And it just becomes this thing of there's not enough here. There's really not enough here. This needed another rewrite. This really did, because there's a whole section of it that's not working. And it's a real shame, because I like Wes Anderson, but it's one of those things where it's like the director didn't connect up what he was doing with what the story needed, because he didn't have an actual point of view of why you were disconnected beyond that was what was going on in the culture at the time. You had the optimism of science, and you had the disconnect of psychology, and all these actors and artists being psychoanalyzed and Brechtian detachment, and try to combine that with the kind of emotional attachment of you get what you get with science is all sounds interesting, but you needed to actually write it, and this film doesn't write it. It just goes for whimsy and hope that's enough, and it doesn't really work. So again, it's frustrating because I really liked a lot of the scenes in the film. It's just like when you get past it, it was like there's no center to this film. It's just lots of really lovely scenes and lots of nice acting. And there's some great scenes in it. Scarlett Johansson's really good, and so is Schwartzman. They're both really good in the leads. Tom Hanks shows up as a grandpa, and he's some fun. There's lots of nice moments throughout the film, but it just becomes this thing of there's not enough of the kind of depth you want, and there's not enough of a point. So that's Asteroid City. Now we go to Elysium. Elysium is a similar thing of the world's terrific, but the plot's not quite worked out. And the main thing there is the plot's not worked out because of the ending, because there's a dichotomy between two different points of view. You've got the film for 90% of the time is about how depressing this world is, when a world like 150 years in the future where everything has gone to hell. We're living in like rubble basically. Well, the rich live in Elysium, this space station above that has gravity, artificial gravity, and they're the ones that own everything down on Earth, and basically everyone else is starving to survive. People going to jail for stealing for basic food. It's just like an extension of our world going completely insane. It's full on capitalism at its worst. And it's pretty much obvious that there's no way to escape this world. There's no way to survive and move on from this world. There's just nothing here that you can really attach yourself to build any kind of psychological future. You just have to live and enjoy what you can and expect life to end pretty fast. The whole world has become like a ghetto, basically. And into this, they throw in a happy ending that is not earned. And it's that they're building a plot where you can reset the programming of all these machines that are being used by the rich people to oppress everyone and make sure people are do what they're told. And you can reset it so that everyone can be a citizen of Elysium and use their facilities to heal themselves better and things like that. And it doesn't work from the world they've set up, because the world they've set up is for so much of the time people are actually sneaking onto Elysium and basically doing suicide runs onto Elysium to use the machine to heal the sick. You know, because the only citizens can actually, with a mark, can actually use a machine that can reprogram your DNA and heal the problem you have in your body. So that's the thing, is it shows in detail how painful this is to do, how difficult it is, and how like dozens of people die each time they try and do this. Maybe one or two people get there. And they set it up and set it up and set it up. Just how hard it is. And then Matt Damon's lead character is a guy who's trying to survive. He's an ex-criminal and he's trying to go straight. And just how horrible it is, because the ex-criminal, he's dealing with all these robot machines that he's in a factory building during the day, and then when he's coming home, these same machines are like making his life hell. And he's trying to avoid his old friends who are trying to get him back into life of crime because he's got a lot of talent for it. And you've got all this thing, and the filmmaking is terrific. It really is. It's trying to appeal to a mass audience, so it's not like utter depression in every pore or anything, but it's trying to give you an impression of this world in a way that a commercial audience could actually stomach. And it does it really well. The pacing's good, so you're never stuck on the depressing details for too long. Instead, they keep on adding different details, so you always get more and more details, and you're not getting bogged down in anything. All that's working fine. And then it just at a certain point, for the plot motor to work, they need to cure the ills of society, and the whole film is screaming out, "You can't cure this without a revolution. That's the only way to cure this." Instead of a revolution that's painless and is like doesn't have the the aftermath of something like the French Revolution was, which was decades of unease and craziness or anything else. Any revolution causes crazy. Instead, it's like, oh, that's a painless revolution. And it's like, you've just sold out your entire premise. You've been trying to be realistic enough for this to actually feel like you can follow these characters and realize they're doomed. And then you say, no, we don't want everyone to be doomed. We want some people to survive. We want to have a happy ending. It's just like, it's basically the film saying, screw you to the audience. It's like, we explained everything to you as like, so you know there's no escape. And never give you a happy ending. And we haven't earned it at all. And it just feels like a compromise put on the director and saying, look, you have to have something here. And Neil Blomkamp, who wrote and directed it, has more or less said that he felt the world was good, but the actual ideas were there, but the story itself he had never quite connected. And he's right, it just doesn't connect because you've got a goal that undoes the rest of the film. And a perfect 70s ending would be Matt Damon's character would fail and everybody dies. And that's the ending the film needs. It needs to have this 70s like Soylent Green people type of thing where the lead character dies horribly. He dies, but he dies saving the world. And it's like, no, not in this world. This world doesn't allow for that. So you can feel the film and very uncomfortable with the fact that it's been like presenting the cyberpunk reality. It's obviously written by someone who read by William Gibson and all the different cyberpunks in the 80s. And what you imagine his world to look like, and it's based on like different favelas all over the world, just different places that are been run down, and it's just the whole world's grown like that, and all of that stuff is great. You've got the different hackings and ways to steal stuff from different people, steal cars, and you've different ways of doing things to steal different areas in society to make a living. And there's a guy called Spider, who's the lead gangster in the area. He's played by Wagner Moura, who you know from Narcos, and he's really good. You've got Dana Luna, who was in Andor. He's good as well. You have a lot of good actors in there. Elise Braga is a female lead who knew Damon's character as a kid, kids, and they meet up again. Her daughter's dying. So that's another subplot, which obviously means they're not going to kill the kid. And as soon as she appears, you can know the ending. It's like, oh, damn it. So you knew halfway through they're going to blow it. And they keep doing good stuff for quite a lot of the film until they get to the end. And it's like, but you still know, because as soon as you see a sick little girl, you know they're not going to kill her. And it's like, that's a cop-out. That's just a cop-out. It means you can't really make this character as selfish as you want to, because Matt Damon's character is selfish in the film. He's really selfish in lots of ways. He's trying to be better, but he's living in a world that basically is brutal, and he has to be selfish to survive. And they try and make him selfless at the end. It's a character arc that doesn't really deliver because it's not believable. Because the fun of the character was he was selfish and he was just like everyone else in the world. He might want to do better, but he wasn't going to succeed. And it's like, well, we changed at the end. We made him selfless, and it's like, didn't really earn that. And the whole film just is that feeling of compromise. I mean, there's some cool stuff with Shatlow Copley, who's the villain, and he's having a ball. He's this guy who's connected to Elysium. He's a security guy, and he's the villain, and he enjoys being a villain, and the actors enjoy playing him. He's a guy who loves to live down in the dark with all the people and just be a menace to everybody. And the actual people in Elysium don't like him much, but he enjoys that, and he hates Elysium just as much as everyone else, but they pay his wages. So it creates this dynamic, and it's like, that's what the film should be, that kind of dynamic of the various compromises. there's early on Matt Damon's character gets poisoned by radiation and he's going to be dying in about 5 days. That's an interesting dynamic that keeps going for a while, and it makes him more and more desperate to do things. So a lot of the plot's motivated by desperation to get out to Elysium and get a cure for himself. All that stuff's terrific. His selfishness is terrific. The villain is interesting, but those are the things that aren't developed. So it just has to develop in the film towards this happy ending that just undermines it the more it goes on. So no matter how vicious the Coppola character is, and he is vicious, it's not quite delivering what you want because you know this cop out's coming. This magic ending where they have a magic cure for the little girl, so no, and the magic cure for society that I wouldn't know what to do with it. So it's an ending without an ending because it's like, well, what do they do now? It's like it's going to be chaos. I mean, they're creating like a happy ending. It's like it's not really a happy ending. It's going to be chaos, and there's no ambiguity shown in the end. And there's no sign that this is going to get much worse now. It's going to get crazier now. And that becomes frustrating. Jodie Foster plays the leader of the people in Elysium trying to stop people getting up. So she's a villain. She's a main villain. And she has fun with parts. She has a strange accent that's meant to be this sense of someone who's lived in this area for a while. And their accents have evolved to something else. Well, Fichtner plays her second command, who's running a company down on Earth, and she's using him to help have a coup. And the fact that he's a guy they attack to get information, the thing that sets the plot up. So all the plots come together, but it's just that they all go towards a ending that's just very unsatisfying and the ending just sticks out in your gut as like, this is so wrong, this ending. It's like the film had so much promise. The film was good for a good 2/3 of the way, and then the last third had too much action, not enough interesting interactions with people, and then just had a corporate ending. So it was like, nah, I really wish for a better film, but you're not. So that's two pretty good, I guess, films. I enjoy talking about them because sometimes it's good to talk about films that are frustrating because of the areas that went wrong. So I hope you enjoyed this. I'll be back soon with some more. That's me for now. Bye.